"Young lady," the flight attendant barked, her voice cold and cutting. "This isn't economy. You need to move." A hush swept through the cabin. Cameras discreetly rose. The girl she was addressing, a quiet black teenager in a burgundy hoodie, looked up, confused but calm. "But this is my seat," she said softly, showing her boarding pass. The flight attendant snatched it, glanced, then scoffed. "Sure it is," she sneered. "Let's not make a scene. Go back where you belong." Laughter flickered from a nearby row. The teen's eyes glistened, not with fear, but restraint. She didn't argue. Not yet. But what no one realized was that this nobody teen with the worn sneakers was someone the airline desperately should have treated with respect. Because what happened next would leave the whole plane stunned, and a flight attendant out of a job. If you believe that every human being deserves to be treated with dignity, especially when no one's watching, hit that subscribe button. Because the people who don't are the reason stories like this keep happening. She kept her headphones in, but the music wasn't playing. She just wanted quiet. Her name was Amara Bishop, barely 17, soft-spoken, and dressed like any other teenager traveling alone. But looks deceive. Behind that simple hoodie and beat-up backpack was a legacy built on grit, grace, and a global aviation empire. Amara had grown up watching her mother build an airline from scratch. Through discrimination, denial, and countless doors slammed in her face. She learned early that silence didn't mean weakness, it meant restraint. That true power didn't have to announce itself. After losing her father in a tragic crash when she was just 8, Amara made a vow to one day earn her place, not just inherit it. Now, having completed her internship rotation through every single department in the company, from baggage to boardroom, Amara was on her final assignment, traveling anonymously, observing service from the customer's eyes. She wasn't just flying, she was watching. No one knew who she was. And that was the point. Then there was Kareni, immaculate uniform, hair slicked into a tight bun, smile like polished glass, only visible for those she deemed worthy. To passengers like the Raymonds in 2A, an elderly white couple dripping with designer labels, she was all warmth and wine refills. But to Amara, a curt glance, a dismissive tone. "Command, not a question, young lady. You sure you're in the right seat?" she asked, without even checking the ticket. As Karena leaned over Amara with narrowed eyes, her tone condescending and cold, she pivoted effortlessly back to the Raymonds. "Oh, don't you worry, Mr. Raymond," she purred. "We'll make sure you have everything you need." The shift was jarring. Like a switch had flipped from dismissive to delightful, and every passenger around noticed. Have you ever had someone treat you differently? Share your story in the comments, and if you know how deep that kind of bias runs, hit that subscribe button. Karen, early 40s, pristine uniform, polished red lips, and eyes trained to scan for status. She didn't just serve passengers, she sorted them. To her, respect wasn't a given. It was earned through expensive shoes, last names with weight, and the type of ticket that came with a lounge pass. So when she saw Amara, black, young, dressed down, she assumed one thing: out of place. Karen leaned in, her voice just loud, enough for others to hear. "Young lady, this is first class. You must be in the wrong section." Amara looked up slowly, met her eyes, and calmly replied, "This is my seat." Karena didn't even check. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Let's not do this," she said tightly. But Amara's silence was sharper than words. Across the aisle, a woman in pearls leaned closer, sensing the tension. A man in a tailored suit glanced up from his laptop, frowning. Karen stood tall, trying to assert dominance. Amara didn't blink. She sat with the stillness of someone who had nothing to prove, but everything to reveal. Murmurs started in row 3. "Maybe she snuck in," someone whispered. Another voice added, "Doesn't look like she belongs here." Karena heard it. She liked it. It fed her authority, validated her bias. But Amara remained centered, unshaken. Karena's tone dropped. "If you don't move, I will call security." The businessman stood up slightly in his seat. The woman in pearls stiffened. Amara simply said, "Go ahead." A ripple of discomfort spread through the cabin. Karena waved over Grace, the younger attendant. "Escort this girl out of first class." Grace paused. Eyes flicked to Amara, then to Karena. She took a step forward, then stopped. I think we should double-check the manifest," she whispered. Karena shot her a glare. "Do it now." Karen's voice turned venomous. "Last chance. Move, or be removed." Amara looked her dead in the eye. "If you touch me, you'll lose more than your job." Gasps. Silence. And then, nothing but heartbeats. What would you do if someone tried to humiliate you for simply existing where they didn't expect you to be? Tell us in the comments, and if you've ever been misjudged, hit like and subscribe. This story is for you. Karen's patience thinned like a fraying thread. Her voice now sliced through the air like broken glass. "You're not supposed to be here," she said, louder this time, dripping with frustration. Her tone held. No room for courtesy, just contempt. Eyes around the cabin began to lift. The tension that had been simmering now boiled visibly, and Karen, determined to reassert control, tightened her jaw and crossed her arms with visible disdain. The cabin grew quieter. It wasn't the peaceful quiet of a red-eye flight, it was the fragile silence that descends just before something unspoken explodes. Some passengers stared, others kept their heads low, feigning ignorance behind newspapers or phone screens. No one said anything. No one dared. They all saw the injustice, but the weight of collective silence held them hostage. The tension wasn't just in Karen's voice. It had taken over the entire atmosphere. Amara looked up, her expression unreadable. "You shouldn't make assumptions about people," she said gently. There was no bite in her voice, just quiet truth. Karen fired back, her volume rising again. "And you shouldn't be in seats you didn't pay for." It was more than a comment. It was a declaration rooted in her need to be right, to keep her illusions of superiority intact. Karena's authority wasn't backed by truth, but by noise. Without another word, Amara picked up her phone. Her fingers moved with calm precision. She wasn't texting in fear. She was sending a message that would shift everything. "You're making a mistake," she said softly, never looking up. Karen scoffed. "We'll see about that." Grace stood awkwardly near the front, manifest in hand. Her fingers trembled as she scanned the names. Her instincts screamed something was off, but her training warned her to obey. Karen's eyes burned into her. "Grace, what are you doing?" The younger woman stammered. "I was just checking." "Don't!" Karen snapped, shutting her down. Grace looked away, shamefaced and afraid. Around them, passengers began whispering. "Why won't she just move?" "She's trying to sneak into first class," Karen fed off it. "We have rules," she declared loudly. "Some people just don't respect them." The murmurs turned into murmuring judgment. Amara became a story unfolding in real time. Her identity erased, her dignity questioned, her presence challenged. Still, she didn't flinch. She sat like stone, silent, unbothered. Karen paced. Her composure was slipping. The quieter Amara stayed, the more Karen unraveled. Her authority didn't land the same anymore. It echoed hollow, desperate. A man across the aisle leaned forward. Mid-40s, dressed in a navy suit, eyes calm but observant. "Excuse me," he said. "Is everything all right over here?" Amara turned, offering the smallest of smiles. "I'm fine, thank you." Her voice was soft, but centered. Karen spun to face the man. "Sir, I'd appreciate it if you didn't encourage the disturbance." His brow furrowed slightly. From where I'm sitting, he said. You're the one making a scene. The comment landed like a subtle earthquake. Not loud, but undeniable. Karena's face tightened. This is your last warning, she said to Amara, voice raised for all to hear. Move back or I'll call security. Amara didn't raise her tone. She just said, I've already told you. I'm not moving. Her calmness was more powerful than yelling could ever be. A few rows back, a woman dressed in pearls leaned to whisper. Looks like she's trying to sneak in for a free ride. Karen latched onto the moment like a lifeline. That's exactly what it looks like, she said smugly, loud enough for others to hear. The whispers turned into words. Frustration, entitlement, judgment. Why won't she just follow the rules? This is ridiculous. Amara remained still. Her silence was armor. Her stillness, protest. Grace took a hesitant step forward. Maybe we should just verify her seat. Grace, Karena snapped. Back off. Grace froze, crushed again by invisible chains. The people who knew better said nothing, or worse, stood still. The man in the navy suit leaned in again softly. Are you sure you're okay? Amara gave another soft smile. Thank you. I'm fine. That kindness, even if small, was a lifeline. Not because she needed help, but because she needed to know that someone saw her. Karena turned sharply. Please stop interfering. We're handling it, she said. Her tone no longer just commanding, now hostile. She resumed her duties, smiling at other passengers, offering drinks and snacks, yet skipping Amara. When Amara eventually asked, Excuse me, may I have some water? Karena paused, looked at her like she was invisible, then muttered, I'll get to you when I can. The insult was clear. The denial was deliberate. The attack was no longer about rules. It was about punishment, about proving a point. And yet, Amara remained composed, unmoved. The silence that began this confrontation was about to be broken, not by yelling, but by truth. What would you do if you were in Amara's seat? Would you fight back, or stay calm and let the truth reveal itself? Tell us in the comments, and if this moment got you fired up, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see what quiet strength really looks like. Minutes passed in tense silence. The hum of the engine filled the cabin, but eyes continued flicking toward Amara, whose quiet dignity only seemed to provoke Karen further. As Amara subtly shifted in her seat, her knee edged slightly into the aisle. Karen approached with a drink tray, saw it, and instead of stepping around her like she had done for every other passenger, she didn't alter course. She deliberately clipped Amara's leg with the corner of the tray, sending a cold splash of water across Amara's lap. Karen gasped theatrically, the performance immediate. Watch where you're putting your legs. You've caused a mess. She snapped, drawing gasps and startled looks from the nearby passengers. Eyes turned, some confused, some suspicious. Karena had created the mess, and now blamed the victim. Amara calmly brushed the water from her lap, her composure unshaken. She looked up with unwavering poise. I've only asked to be treated with the same respect as everyone else, and if that's too much to ask, then maybe you're the one who doesn't belong here. Karena's face flushed. Her voice dropped into a hiss. You think you can talk to me like that? Then, in a flash of uncontrolled rage, she did the unthinkable. She raised her hand and slapped Amara across the face. The sound cracked through the cabin like thunder. Gasps erupted. The businessman shot to his feet, furious. Grace covered her mouth. Even the judgmental socialite was frozen in shock. Amara slowly straightened. Calm, controlled. You just made the worst mistake of your life, she said softly. Her voice cutting deeper than any shout ever could. What would you do if you were in Amara's shoes? Would you stay quiet, speak up, or walk away? Let us know in the comments. And if this story has you hooked, Hit like and subscribe now. Amara sat up straighter, eyes locked with Karena's. The sting of the slap had faded, but something far stronger simmered behind her calm expression. "I've been patient with you," she said evenly, her voice low but commanding. "But your behavior has crossed the line." Her words didn't waver. She didn't raise her voice. But somehow, her tone shifted the energy in the entire cabin. Karena scoffed, still trying to control the narrative. "You're the disruptive one," she snapped, voice clipped with fake authority. "You're the one causing this scene." Her deflection landed flat now. She was talking, but fewer people were buying it. Trying to regain control, Karena sneered. "Regret what? What will you do? Call the police?" Amara didn't respond. She simply stared, her silence no longer passive, but powerful. The hush she carried now had weight. Her refusal to engage wasn't weakness. It was dominance in disguise. The entire plane felt it. Grace, standing just behind the beverage cart, pressed her trembling fingers to the intercom. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew it couldn't be this. "We have a situation," she whispered into the handset. "We need someone from the ground team ready when we land." Karena caught the movement. Her eyes narrowed. She stepped slightly to block Grace's access to the manifest. Her authority was thinning, and she could feel it. She began monitoring every breath Grace took, trying to keep her in line. Meanwhile, a woman in coach leaned forward, whispering across the aisle to Amara, "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Amara gave a small, tired smile. "I'm fine. Thank you." Then she spoke, not just to Karena, but to everyone listening. "All you had to do was treat me with respect, but your prejudice got in the way." Her tone didn't accuse. It illuminated, like someone turning on a light in a dark room. Karen didn't blink. She spit her words like venom. "People like you don't deserve my respect." The air changed. Even the hum of the engine seemed to dim. The crowd that had whispered, laughed, or looked away was now utterly still. The silence was thick with realization, discomfort, and tension. Amara didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't return the hate. She simply breathed, slowly, with intent. Around her, eyes met. Passengers exchanged uncertain glances. No one knew what would happen next, but everyone knew something was about to happen. Karena leaned in again. "Actions have consequences." Amara didn't blink. "You're right, and you're about to find out." Karena forced a tight, artificial smile. "I'm not afraid of your empty threats," she said, with less confidence than before. The smile didn't reach her eyes, but the crack was there. She felt it, saw it, heard it in the quiet. Her voice had lost its grip. She could feel the unease growing in her chest. The faces around her that once looked amused or indifferent now seemed different, questioning, concerned, cold. Her thoughts raced. What if she's not who I think she is, she wondered. Why hasn't she lost it? Why isn't she yelling? Why does she look like she's in control? Karena scanned the cabin, seeking silent allies. The businessmen crossed arms, staring her. Down. Grace, glued to the corner, avoiding her eyes. The socialite, now stone-faced, lips pursed. Karen was standing, but she had never felt more alone. But what Karen didn't know was that she had already made a move earlier. A text, sent, before the slap. She had messaged a supervisor, reporting a disruptive minor trying to cause problems in first class. Her smugness had returned when she hit send, believing she'd won before the plane even landed. But Amara had made a move too. One no one saw. No theatrics, no warnings. Just a message sent through a private encrypted staff line. Because Amara Bishop wasn't just a teenager. She was the sole heir to Bishop Airways, one of the most powerful airline families in the world. And her mother, Vanessa Bishop, Received that message 5 minutes ago. Everything Amara had done, every calm word, every silent breath, every withheld reaction, had been calculated. She wasn't just holding herself together. She was giving everyone in the cabin a chance to show who they really were. And now, justice was on its way, not through shouting, but through exposure, through quiet strength, through truth. What do you think Amara should do next? Should she stay quiet, or let the truth shake the cabin? Let us know in the comments, and if you're hooked by this story, hit like and subscribe right now. The next part will leave you speechless. The cabin sat beneath a suffocating stillness, not a whisper, not a shuffle, just a thick, suspended breath shared by everyone aboard. Karenna paced, her heels clicking too loudly on the aisle floor, her posture rigid, false confidence barely holding back rising panic. Amara remained seated, unmoved, untouched by the storm. Her calm wasn't silence, it was command. Then, with no words, Amara reached for her phone. Each tap was deliberate, each second, waited. She finished the message, placed the phone gently on the armrest, and never once looked at Karenna. She didn't have to. The energy had shifted. Karenna snapped. "What do you think you're doing?" Her voice cracked with tension disguised. As authority, Amara leaned back, her gaze steady, her reply soft. "You'll find out soon enough." If you think Lauren's reaction was uncalled for, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more justice stories like this. The whispers started in row 3. A woman leaned toward her husband and murmured, "Something's not right." "Who is she?" Across the aisle, another voice followed. "Did you see how calm she was? I think she's someone important." The cabin, once filled with judgment and indifference, now buzzed with curiosity. Suspicion had begun to shift the tide. The businessman who had defended Amara earlier sat motionless, his finger tapping the armrest. He didn't look surprised, just focused. His eyes never left her, as if confirming what he had already guessed. There was a quiet knowing in his stare. He didn't need to speak. His silence echoed. "She's not just a passenger." Then came the sound no one expected. The cockpit door opened. Firm, unfamiliar footsteps emerged from the front. Karenna turned, visibly irritated. "What now?" she muttered. But even her defiance wavered as the uniformed pilot approached. His voice cut through the air. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've received a directive from corporate. The owner of this aircraft is currently on board." A pause followed, thick and expectant. Then the pilot raised his hand and pointed. "It's Miss Amara Bishop." The cabin gasped. Gasps turned into audible shock. Heads turned, necks craned, hearts raced. Silence was obliterated by realization. "She owns the plane?" someone whispered. "She owns the airline?" Another passenger repeated, stunned. The businessman simply nodded. The socialite clutched her pearls. Karenna's mouth parted, but no sound came out. Amara rose slowly, composed, measured. Her presence filled the space more than the announcement had. "My name is Amara Bishop," she said calmly, "and I am the majority shareholder and founder's daughter of Bishop Air. This plane is under my jurisdiction. Every person on this flight is my guest, including you." She didn't need to raise her voice. Truth didn't need volume. Karenna staggered back half a step, her face draining of color. Her breath hitched, like a drowning woman just realizing the water was rising. I didn't know." Amara's eyes held her steady. "You didn't ask. You didn't care. All I wanted was to be treated with the same respect you give to others. But you saw a hoodie and assumed less. Now you'll see what that costs." The pilot's voice returned over the intercom. "We will be making an unscheduled landing per executive order." Confusion rippled. Excitement. Anxiety. Karenna's hands trembled. Her control, gone. Her stage, collapsed. "Why are we landing?" someone asked aloud. The businessman turned to Amara. Are you doing this? Amara didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence was now prophecy. The cabin doors opened minutes later, revealing two sharply dressed assistants in dark suits. They stepped forward in unison. "Miss Bishop, everything has been arranged," one said. Gasps again. Karen's legs locked in place. Amara turned to face her fully. "Your behavior today was disgraceful," she said. "You could have de-escalated this at any moment. Instead, you chose aggression. You chose humiliation. And now you've chosen the consequences." Karena tried to salvage herself. "Miss Bishop, I didn't mean—" "You meant every word," Amara interrupted. "You just didn't think you'd be held accountable." Around them, heads nodded. Murmurs echoed in support. The tide had turned fully now. The crowd, once silent, was united in truth. Amara stepped closer. "While you were busy judging me, you forgot to do your job." Her words were surgical. "And now, there are consequences." Karen's voice vanished. Her shoulders collapsed under the weight of everyone watching. Her arrogance drained into shame. She turned toward the front of the plane, desperate for an exit, but the pilot stepped in her path. "I'm afraid you're not going anywhere," Amara followed with precision. "You are relieved of duty. Effective immediately. You are fired." Gasps. Silence. Then, movement at the front. Two police officers boarded. One stepped forward, removing his cap. "Miss Bishop, would you like to press charges?" Amara met his eyes. "Yes, for assault and public misconduct." Karena's eyes welled. "Please, I didn't mean to—" "You're under arrest," the officer said. "Anything you say can and will be used against you." The click of handcuffs echoed louder than the engines. Karena sobbed, crumbling. "Please. I'm sorry. Please." Amara watched her evenly. "Your apology means nothing without accountability." And then she turned away. Karen, now weeping and cuffed, was led down the aisle she once ruled, past every passenger who had witnessed her fall. Her power was gone. Her pride shattered. Amara turned to the rest of the cabin. "I apologize for what you witnessed today. From this moment forward, everyone, no matter their age, race, or appearance, will be treated with dignity and respect aboard my airline." Applause erupted. For justice, for integrity, for her. She turned to Grace. "You showed courage, even when it was hard. You'll be hearing from my office about your promotion." Grace blinked, stunned. Her voice caught in her throat. "Thank you," she whispered, eyes full. Amara nodded, turned, and exited the plane flanked by her assistants. The air she left behind was different, charged with change. That flight wouldn't be remembered for the turbulence. It would be remembered for the lesson. Because justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it walks down the aisle, silent and undeniable. If this moment gave you chills, hit like and subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see that calm power always rises, and justice always lands. As passengers slowly disembarked, a middle-aged woman paused beside Amara. Her eyes shimmered with unspoken emotion, her voice soft but steady. "Miss Bishop, you're amazing," she said, hands trembling as she reached for Amara's. "I watched everything, and the way you handled it, I'll never forget it." Amara smiled gently. "Thank you. And remember, it's always worth standing up for what's right, even when it feels like no one's watching." Her words, delivered with calm conviction, echoed in the woman's heart. The cabin might have cleared, but something far deeper had taken root. A ripple of courage passed from one soul to another. Within 24 hours, the story had gone viral. Millions watched the footage shared by onlookers, stunned by both the cruelty and the calm defiance that followed. And when the interview requests came pouring in, Amara agreed to one. A national morning show. Bright lights. A platform that could turn a private humiliation into a global lesson. Sitting across from the host, Amara didn't flinch. Respect, she said, is a right, not a privilege. Everyone deserves dignity, no matter what they wear, where they sit, or what someone else assumes. The interviewer nodded slowly, visibly moved. In that moment, Amara wasn't just speaking for herself. She was becoming a voice for the voiceless. Then came the question that mattered most. What would you say to someone facing the same challenges, but without your platform? Amara paused, then smiled softly. Your strength comes from within, she said. You don't need wealth to demand respect, just the courage to be yourself. Don't let someone else's ignorance make you question your worth. That line was quoted for weeks, across social media, in classrooms, in churches, even corporate boardrooms. The girl once dismissed as out of place was now shaping conversations about race, respect, and power worldwide. Weeks later, Amara boarded another flight. Different city, different crew. But the moment she stepped through the cabin door, the shift was immediate. Uniformed attendants stood taller, their smiles genuine, their tone reverent. Welcome aboard, Miss Bishop, one of them said with warmth. It's an honor to have you with us. This time, there were no questions, no stares, just respect, earned not by wealth, but by grace. As the plane ascended through golden clouds, Amara leaned into the window and let herself breathe. This wasn't just about one flight, one slap, one confrontation. No, this was about legacy. It's about creating a system, she thought, where respect is the standard, not the exception. And for the first time in a long time, the sky felt just right. If you love this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that dignity is for everyone, not just the powerful. And in the comments, tell us, should Lauren be forgiven, or should she face the full consequences? Let us know below.